told me he was taking medication.
No, that's for today. I forgot. Okay, right. Consequences of not taking makes trouble.
ไปเอามากินเลย
Okay, later on. Okay, break time. I will go. Right. Okay.
My grandmother took this medicine for like 30 years. But I mean, as long as you take, it's fine. It's when you stop the you start.
your grandparent take antihypertensive drug
My grandmother, my late grandmother, she took. She was fine for 30 years. She took. She was fine. There were no side effects, nothing.
Okay. So that is a dukkha. That is a viparinama dukkha.
I'm experiencing dukkha right now because I'm very excited to see the skip coming, but it's not coming yet.
Okay. So, Tanchip, do you want to share some of your travel before we go into the topic? You missed a few sessions already. Like last session we discussed on apiyehi sampayoko dukkho piyehi vipayoko dukkho yampi chang nalabhatitampi dukkhang. So 3 topics we covered last session and you missed as well. I hope you went listen on YouTube. Okay?
oh he don't teacher he don't hear he don't listen
You don't
because
hear?
he is very lazy
No.
same as me
Okay, right. So
Shouldn't be grassing on your classmate.
bullying one another.
No bully here. Please.
Bullying one another. Yeah. Okay, Hanchip, you want to share?
Yeah. It was the same place that I went there 2 months ago in another district, Chatakan district, and but it's different because the first and the second day we met rainy days, whole day, whole night, and I got only cloud sheet and fly sheet, and somebody they got tent and แฮมอะไรนะ แฮมเปลย์อะ
helmet เหรอ
Helmet?
ไม่ใช่เฮลเมตนะอันมันหมวกกันน็อก
แฮมม็อก
แฮมม็อกแฮมม็อก
เฮลเมตมันหมวกเหล็กเนาะใช่ไหม
ใช่
เฮลเมต
somebody got tent, somebody got a hammock, and they asked me that oh you got only cloud sheet and fly sheet, how can you survive if it's rain? And but those nights all of them got wet, but I didn't.
why
And you had the fly sheet.
Yeah, because and they asked me that, oh, you are not afraid of snakes or scorpion? No, I was born as a Scorpio, so it's my friend. So I just lay down on the ground with a cloud sheet and cover myself with a fly sheet. So that is enough, and I didn't get wet. And because of the rain, I had the time for meditation, and I could at a time I don't know why I memorized about Sampachanya, 4 Sampachanya. Like the first one, know that it has a benefit. And second one, Sappaya Sampachanya.
Dwelling.
No, that is knowing that is suitable.
Suitability.
And Kojon Sampachanya,
โคจระโคจระ
Kochara Sampachanya, knowing that knowing the duty. And the last one, knowing that we are not in a delusion or something. ไม่รู้ชัดว่าไม่หลงครับอาจารย์ รู้
ใช้
ชัดว่า
คำอะไร
ไม่หลง
อ่ะ
ไม่หลง
no illusion อ่ะ
non-delusional.
Non-delusion. Knowing that we have no delusion. Yes. And I just set my mind on that Dhamma, and then I practiced meditation, and I could pass something in my heart that
อืม
that is ความเพลิดเพลิน
อ๋อเหรอ
entertainment or I could pass a nanti in my mind. But it's just something that I got stuck there
เรียก
for a
อะไร
long
นะอั
time.
ศาทะเหรออัศาทะหรือเปล่า
Yeah.
ความเพลิดเพลินอ่ะ
นันทิ
Nanti
อีกคำหนึ่งอ่ะเจ้าค่ะอัศาทะไม่ใช่เหรอจำไม่ได้
and I know at the time I know why my practice is not moving forward, and at the time I could pass it. And yeah, that's all for this forest, for this trip. And that is the thing that I felt a little bit happy. Yes. Because I think I have no development for a long time, and I could pass it. Yeah.
Good. Good that you're able to bring the sampajanya.
And there was someone slip on the stone and หัวแตกเข้าอาจารย์ คิ้วแตก and she was the same person with the last tip on this district that she brought พระอาจารย์มหาวิเชียร to get down on the hill.
Okay.
She was the same person, and she thought that, oh, why I have an accident every time I came to Shatakan, this district. So me and this district, so it's my enemy. Something like that.
อัศาทะแปลว่าความยินดีพอใจ
ความยินดีพอใจ อัศสาทะ
ใช้เหมือนนันทิก็ได้
Okay, so we are talking about the
ทุกข์ค่ะ
dukkha. Okay. So Tanjip asked me about the sampajanya. So I will show you that we have studied the sampajanya
in the first lesson.
Yeah, in the very first time. Right?
With
Ah,
So
delicious.
this is
Tua and ice.
yeah, and that time Tantua also there, and Ice was also there. Okay, so this is the
What happened to ice?
what happened to Ice? Tan tidak ada mengenai.
Okay, I call you.
So
now
this is
he's still here.
yeah. So these are the sampajanya in English. Okay, so knowing the beneficial, suitability, and accessible or inaccessible, and non-delusional. Okay.
Mm,
Oh,
I forget it already.
you forgot it. No, naughty students. Okay, so
I'm old student.
all student, no
OH
excuse,
student.
OS. Okay, I accept.
no excuse.
Elderly.
So just to recap, okay. So we were talking about the four noble, among the four noble truths. This is the first noble truth. Okay? And then we were talking all these 12 types of sufferings. Yeah, it's birth, aging, death, sorrow, lamentation, and physical pain, mental pain, despair, association with the hateful, separation from loved ones, and not getting what we want, and clinging to the 5 aggregates. Okay? So these all are basically the categories of the suffering, or the dukkha. And in these, all these also further can be divided into 3. It's called a dukkha as a dukkha, and a dukkha as produced by change, viparinama dukkha, and then a conditioned states, the sankhara dukkha. And today I have asked you all to prepare and speak on these 3. So dukkha, Monit is going to explain, and viparinama dukkha, Tanchip, and sankhara dukkha, Tantita Dhammo. Okay, and given you I have given you a reference to read as well. Okay,
ท่านคะ
so
you have more ทุกขะ
Yeah.
so now let's hear from Monit on the first dukkha.
Okay. ทุกขะ is ordinary suffering that everyone in the world can dispute or refuse. All people in the world have birth, old age, sickness, and death. And association with unpleasant people or conditions, or separation from beloved persons or conditions. I think that association with unpleasant people or conditions is less suffering as compared with separation from beloved persons or beloved conditions, because sometimes you can stay away from that persons or that conditions, but separations from beloved persons or beloved conditions, you can stay away or dispute or refuse. I tell you about when I learned about forensic medicine. Teacher told me that most cause of murder is jealousy of man or woman, and the second is from money Okay. It's the end.
Very
Wow.
short.
I think that's like short. Yeah.
I will be
Surprise.
shorter
I
than
thought I had a few hours to do this.
ท่านข่าว ท่านข่าว you prepare long story.
No. I'm doing
no,
my
Manit,
homework
you
now.
should tell us longer than this because we will have the time to prepare.
Okay.
Okay,
Because
don't be shy, buddy.
I-
You can keep going.
I accept that I just have time to get here 15 minutes before class. And
Okay, I will
I
help you ท่านจิ๊บ
I try to search for the file from the what the Buddha taught, but from link from the
Because
from Monit I could not download it.
are very lazy ท่านจิ๊บ I told you about that link.
No,
Yesterday. Huh?
you call me when I was sleeping.
But I talk
No,
to
no
you.
fighting.
I talk to you about 30 minutes.
But
So
I could not
so you can
download
wake
from that
up.
link.
No fighting. No fighting.
Because you was lazy ท่านจิ๊บ
I could not
Okay.
I could not download from your link, Monit.
Okay, I will tell you about.
Okay. So
I feel very disgust about the fighting from many women. You know, because of jealousy. When many women argue and fight to อะไรอะ to win fighting from some man. I feel very disgust because you know in the world there are many good men in the world. เป็นไรอะ teacher
yeah. So
ปัด
I
แมง
have
วั
a
นเหรอ
question. I have a question to ask. What is a dukkha dukkata?
ทุกขา
Ordinary
ทุกตา
dukkha. Ordinary
dukkha, dukkha.
dukkha as we studied.
is ordinary suffering.
What are they?
Birth, aging, and sickness and death.
Any else?
เนี่ย association
Sorrow.
with unpleasant person or unpleasant condition and separation from beloved person and beloved conditions.
Why that is ordinary suffering?
Because everybody have this.
Okay. What else?
What
Why?
else?
Why you have that suffering?
Because birth.
No, why you suffer? Everybody has it. Why you suffer?
The boss of Kilesa.
Why? I know we get old. Why we suffer? I know we get sick. Why suffer?
Because everybody don't want this, don't want to sick, don't want to die.
Why they don't want to die?
Maybe a fear. กลัว
There is no maybe. There is no maybe. There is no maybe. Why people don't want to die? Why people don't want to get sick?
Oh, I think this is
Maybe fear about pain.
No fear.
Yeah.
There is no maybe. There is no maybe.
Nobody likes to die.
No maybe แปลว่าอะไรอ่ะ
ไม่มีคำว่าอาจจะ คือให้คำตอบไปตรง
อ๋อ
Even people who hate their lives and want to commit suicide have regrets at the last minute. Yeah.
Why? There is no maybe. There is only yes or no. So why they feel suffer? Why it is suffering? You separate from your loved one is suffering. Why? You have to stay with someone who you dislike. You suffer. Why? You didn't get what you want is suffer. Why?
อ๋อ because of craving.
Now
Ah.
see, there is no maybe I have a craving. This is a craving. Attachment, clinging. Panchupatthana khandha dukkha. Yeah, clinging to the 5 aggregate is the cause of the suffering. There is no maybe, or maybe I have a clinging to 5 aggregate and so I suffer. Is that?
Okay, teacher. You said true.
So it's that's why it is a dukkha. So there are all 11 types of a dukkha, from jati to not having what you wish. Yampi chang nalabhati tampi dukkham. Jati pi dukkha, jara pi dukkha, and then what else?
มรณะปิทุกขัง
And then
มรณะ
Vyadi.
ชาติปิทุกขามรณะ
Okay.
มรณะปิทุกขา
That's it.
โศกะ
There are 11 dukkhas.
โศกะปริเทวะ
Jati pi dukkha, jara pi dukkha, vyadi pi
มรณะ
dukkha,
ปิทุกขัง
yam
โส
pi
กะปริเทวะโทมนัส
ทุกขโทมนัส
สะอุปายา
Okay.
ปายา
Okay, it's going all around.
Okay. Maranam pi dukkhang appiyehi sampayogo dukkho vippehi
Not
vippayogo
maranam pi dukkham and then apiyehi. There are other things.
soka parideva dukkha.
Nah, I said
when
it
when I was
already.
chanting I could recite it but if I try to
Jati pi dukkha,
remember
jara
it I
Okay, you can chant.
Maranam
That's it.
soka parideva dukkha
เนี่ยเป็นข่าวเป็น
dogmasukaya
ข่าวสวดอยู่เนี่ย
appiyehi vippayogo sampayogo and no, I'm trying to quickly go through the list.
Okay.
Sankitena panchupadana kandha dukkha.
Okay. Monit, can you recite from jati pi dukkha to apiyehi?
ชาติปิทุกขาชราปิทุกขามรณะปิทุกขัง โสกะปริเทวทุกขโทมนัสสุปายาสาปิทุกขาอัปปิเยหิวิปโยโคทุกโขปิเยหิวิปโยโคทุกโข
ยำปิดฉัง
โสอะไรนะ
ยำปิดฉัง
Soka parideva already. You have to say before, not now. After apiyehi.
เดี๋ยว I
ยำปิด
have
ฉัง
Oh.
นี่โอเค I got it ชาติปิทุกขาชราปิทุกขามรณะปิทุกขัง โสกะปริเทวทุกขโทมนัสสุปายาสาปิทุกขาอัปปิเยหิสัมปโยโคทุกโขปิเยหิวิปโยโคทุกโขยามปิชังนรปฏิตัมปิทุกขัง สังคิเตนะปัญจุปาทานขันธาทุกขา
Yeah. Okay. So in here, all 12, from number 1, jati pi dukkha, to the not attaining what you wish for, is known as dukkha, because it's there with everyone. Okay, and the reason behind is because you cling, upadana. Okay, because of you clinging onto it, having an attachment to it. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's a dukkha, ordinary dukkha. Everyone has it and everyone face it. And that's simply because you have a clinging. But the moment when you don't have a clinging, then these all dukkha will be ends.
Yes.
Okay. So anybody wants to ask Monit on this question, on this topic? Dukkha dukkata?
Monit.
Ah.
Do you think what is the most difficult dukkha for you?
For me, I think it's separation from beloved one.
Hmm.
Not getting old?
Not because I can accept that. So when I can accept, so I'm not suffering.
You said you accept, but always you complain, I am getting old.
You know, women always complain.
No, okay.
Yes,
Complain with everything.
for relief.
Okay. Okay. Anyone wants to say anything on dukkha dukkata? The first category of dukkha.
That's it. Ask me. For increase your time.
So further, dukkha because we have the 5 aggregate. If there is no 5 aggregate, then there won't be a dukkha. Because we have this 5 aggregate and we cling on to it, that is the dukkha. Okay, so I think I will end here. Monit.
Thank you. No question.
Okay.
So the next is Tanjeep.
Sorry? No, I don't know. We talked about it a lot.
Okay, now, Tanjeep, Viparinama dukkha.
As I have prepared for 5 minutes. It's only short sentence. Okay, Viparinama dukkha is suffering from changing, especially the cause of suffering, such as happiness. When we are happy or we have happiness, and then it changes to another thing like suffering or not happy, not being happy as before. So that is suffering from this is the definition of viparinam dukkha. And I think we have this kind of suffering because we have something to compare, like when we are young, and when we were young and we travel, like maybe we got on the sky train or something, or roller coaster. And then we came back, and at that time we just missed that time, and we just recognize it again and again, and so we have something to compare. And now I am not in a roller coaster. So I missed that time. So at a time that young child have suffering.
Okay, yeah. So
because we have something to compare.
Anyone has anything to ask Tanjeep, or anything wants to make it clear?
trying to figure out viparinama. It sounds like, is it related at all to the change in nama?
Changing everything.
Viparinama.
Everything must change.
Because of the change, the suffering arises. They're saying, Yadha nichang tang dukkham.
In this book, it was talking about even the sukha, even the ekaga, the equanimity from dhyana is dukkha because that is impermanent. You know.
Sukha is dukkha too.
The only thing not
Because
dukkha is
it's just
dhyana.
fake happiness.
Yatha
I
nichang.
call it like this. Fake happiness.
Yatha nichang means yatha nichang is things that is impermanent. Tang dukkham, that is suffering. Okay. Yatha nichang. So all things that we have pleasant feelings, whether it is a physical pleasant or a mental pleasantness, that won't stay long. When it changes, then we feel unhappy. When we are sitting, why do we have to change our postures?
It's dukkha.
Because we feel suffering, dukkha. When we are eating delicious food, after a moment you feel your stomach is full. That food not delicious anymore.
Yes.
Sometimes when you eat, it changes from very delicious to no taste to don't care, but you still eat anyway.
Okay. So there's two physical and mental comfort won't last long, and that change, inability to accept, is the suffering. Let's say sabbe sankhara dukkha parivartan.
Suffering because of
Change.
changing.
Change. So sabbe sankhara dukkha.
Sankhara dukkha.
All conditioning are subject to suffering. Everything conditioned arises.
เคยได้ยินแต่สัพเพสังขารานิจจา
มีสาม sabbe sankhara anicca, sabbe sankhara dukkha, sabbe dhamma anatta.
This chanting อยู่ในบทไหนเนี่ย
So if you turn on Wat Wang Hin book, there is a section after khema and some
หน้า33
You can remember teacher เขมา
วันนี้
after
ลองเปิดไปหน้า33อ่ะลองดู
33หรอ
sabapapasa ataranang.
ธรรมนิยามกถา33ใช่ธรรมนิยามคาถา
Yeah, so that's a
สัพเพสัง
sabbe
ขารานิจจาสัพเพ
jati,
สังขาราทุกขา
sabbe sankhara dukkhati, sabbe dhamma anattati.
Vishwanyamata dharma.
วิปริณามะ means อนิจจา
Aniccatta. No. Viparinama. Aniccatta, yeah. Because of the change. Okay, that's why it is
ความทุกข์
suffering.
ที่เกิดจากการเปลี่ยนแปลงการแปรผัน
การเปลี่ยนแปลงเข้าใจแล้วการเปลี่ยนแปลงมันไม่ใช่ความหมายตรงๆว่าไม่เที่ยงเนาะใช่ไหม
มันก็ไม่เที่ยงอ่ะแหละ
นะมันก็คืออันเดียวกันใช่ป่ะวิปริณามะ means อนิจจาเนาะ
ไม่ใช่อนิจจาคือความไม่เที่ยงอนิจจังคือความไม่เที่ยงใช่ไหมแต่ว่าวิปริณามะทุกขังเนี่ยหรือทุกขตาเนี่ยคือทุกข์ที่เกิดจากความไม่เที่ยง เรียนภาษาอังกฤษ
Happiness, yeah. Happiness won't last long. That's a nature that it will change. Okay. Unhappiness won't last long. That will change.
รากศัพท์มันนะwhat's the meaning of วิปริณามะ
Viparinama, change.
นะ แปลว่า change
Law of change or suffering due to change.
It sounds like Sanskrit.
Okay.
In here, the reference given is the Visuddhimagga. Is that where it was coined these 3 times?
Yeah. Okay.
For the summary.
Anything else wants to say on Viparinama Dukkha?
Manit, you can buy time for Sankao by asking me, Manit.
no I don't I want to listen to ท่านข่าว
Satu.
Okay. So these 2 types, the physical sensations, that the pleasurable physical sensation that we want to have, it won't last, and mental pleasantness. By seeing nice thing, by hearing nice words, by having eating good tastes, and these are pleasant sensations. And normally people will be attached to the pleasant sensations or things that one likes, but eventually that won't last long. And that is Viparinama Dukkha. But normally people won't accept that change. They think that it is permanent. Everything is permanent. Niccang. They think that it is niccang, permanent. And that's why they suffer more. Whereas everything in a reality, in a natural way, sabhava dhamma is to change. That is called Viparinama Dukkha. That's why Buddha said, Yatha niccang dukkhang. Yatha niccang tang dukkhang. Yeah. In Pali, Thai Pali say Yatha niccang, and the Roman Yada niccang. Yada aniccang. Yeah. Is tang dukkhang. Things that is impermanent is suffering. Okay. So that is a Viparinama Dukkha.
Did the PTS go to Thailand as well for sources?
What do you mean PTS?
The Pali Text Society.
At the beginning, I'm not sure, but English Pali Tripitaka was printed in Thailand and donated to PTS. English version, King Rama V. King Rama V printed English Pali version, Romanized and donated to. I think 100 and something copies he printed, donated English one.
They have really high standards, man. PTS.
Yeah.
They don't accept publications from ones that are not up to their standard.
Okay, so then let's hear from Tantita Dambo on the Sankhara Dukkha. All right? Are you all happy?
Yes. Yes, we are.
I didn't have, well, it's not that I didn't have, because I had to type this chanting book and stuff.
Is that a good excuse?
It's your opinion is your opinion. My opinion is it's a good excuse. So Sankhara is dukkha. I think in a way it comes from not understanding paticca samuppada, because it concerns these conditioned states that we find, that we attach a sense of self to. So the rupa khanda, vedana khanda, rupa upadana skanda, vedana upadana skanda, sanya upadana skanda, sankhara upadana skanda, and vijnana upadana skanda. All of these things arise out of conditions and fade away out of conditions. They are all subject to viparinama dhamma. So I think Tanchip and Ajahn Sujan covered already what I have to say. Anyway, okay. Because these things are conditioned things. They're not solid. They're always changing, and to attach an identity to them is delusion, because these things are always changing, because these are not solid concrete entities. It's just like the way I think is like what we call I. So the rupa, sanya, and all this is so conditioned. It's like a cloud of things, different elements with different connections and sources and outcomes. So trying to find a sense of self in that is like trying to grab a cloud and hold it. It will never happen. So it brings us suffering. So when it comes to the rupa kanda, rupa is anicca and anattang. But we don't like to accept it, because we see the body and everything we touch and own as we attach a sense of I to it. So that's the rupa skanda. Because rupang is anichang and rupang is anattang, because it's conditioned. Okay, I have a question as well. When it comes to rupa, is it because nama and rupa is intrinsically linked, right? You can't really cut them off. Like nama and rupa is related to each other. So when it says rupa upadana skanda, does it include the nama as well? Because we understand rupa through nama.
คานถามอะไรอ่ะท่านจี๊บ
มันไม่ควรจะแยกกันใช่ไหมเขา
Because nama rupa is always linked to nama. The separation between nama and rupa is more of a materialistic sort of philosophy, but in Buddhism it's not. We don't try to separate nama and rupa. We say that mind and matter, nama and rupa is linked. You know, like we understand rupa through nama.
Rupa is the result of the nama as well.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
But
We
What
understand.
about nama rupa paricheda jnana?
But then
it
even then
can be separated
nama and rupa.
for me.
ถ้าเราแยกได้มันจะแยกตลอดเลยนะท่านจี๊บ
How can nama and rupa be separated?
แยกขันธ์นะ
ใช่
แต่บางครั้งมันเป็นสภาวะแล้วมันไม่ถ้าเป็นแค่สภาวะมันไม่ตลอด เป็นแค่ตอนที่ช่วงวิปัสสนาญาณมันเกิด ตอนที่ผมเห็นนะ
ของหมอรู้สึกว่าถ้ามันแยกนะมันคือแยกตลอดแล้ว
แล้วตอนนี้แยกไหม ยังโง่เหมือนเดิม
แยกตลอดจริง มันไม่เหมือนมันไม่เหมือนเดิมตอนก่อนที่เราจะรู้
ใช่
นะ
มันไม่เหมือนเดิมแต่ว่ามันไม่ชัดเจนเหมือนตอนที่เห็นไง
มันไม่ได้คัดใช่มันไม่ได้แบบ
English
sorry
Yeah.
100 pound นะวันนี้
โอเค I will pay
uh, for me, when it said that when it said that when when she could separate it, and after that is always being separated. But for me, I think when I got vipassana yana, and anytime I could see it that is separated. But for now, I don't think I can see it separated like that. But it's different from before. But it's not obvious. It's not obvious. Same time. Yeah.
So
Maybe
if
because of our concentration as well.
if we know that there is rupa and nama, then we have a rupa sanya, no? To know that there is a rupa. And that is part of nama. Because we understand rupa through rupa sanya.
รูปสัญญา I think it is รูปสัญญา about other form other person other person
Material เลยเปล่า
other object but not our form.
When it means is just the memory or something, but it's not related together.
Maybe I'm confused.
I
Anyway,
mean I know that. I know that รูปสัญญา that is your ท่านคา that's a teacher ท่านสุชน and that is ท่านจีบ that
But-
is รูปสัญญา
But it's not related to material, the real material, right? Right. You mean like that?
You know, it is through your salayatana anyway, so
ฮะท่านคานไปสลายตนะต่ออ่ะ
So sometimes mind is conditioning to arise the object, and other times body is conditioning to arise the mind. Both mind and the body is conditioned one another. Yeah?
ต่าง
So even
ต่า
to
งอันต่างเป็น
the,
ปัจจัย
understand the mind, even to understand the mind is again conditioned, arises. So that's why there's only awareness. That's called mere awareness. Right? Although in an initial stage, or in a way when we talk about it, it's like a mind is there to see, or when we see the mind like that. But it's a difficult one. When there is a body, when we are clinging to the body, again, mind is clinging. And when we talk about the mind, we're clinging to the mind, and the mind is again divided into four. Yeah? Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. This is again a part of the mind. And we cling into this Vedana, cling into the Sanya, cling into the Sankhara, and cling into the Vijnana. The moment when we do not cling it, then we able to overcome this mind itself. Yeah. So it's a four things are working together is known as the mind, and that itself is clinging. Yeah. So that's why as long as we are asking this is and that is, because we're still finding our own identity, that this is me and this is mine, where am I, you know?
we are not understanding his conditioned nature.
Yeah. Okay. So like that. But again, it's still a difficult one to comprehend.
I think better than philosophizing, talking about this, to meditate.
Yeah.
ใช่ you will know it by yourself.
So basically, the sankhara dukkha is because of conditioning. That's why in we would say sabbe sankhara anicca, sabbe sankhara dukkha, and then sabbe dhamma anatta. So sabbe dhamma means all the conditions is anatta, nothing. And even this body and the mind is nothing. Yeah, anatta, non-self. So when we ask, what is it? What I will be? Then we are asking, we are basically not accepting the sabbe dhamma anatta. So that's in Anatta Lakkhana Sutra, Buddha said, Nahewang, not like this. Okay? Now,
Even if you
อนัตตาลักษณะสูตร
and that you don't understand the Sabbedhamma.
dogmatic. Paradox.
Yeah. Why it's a paradox because
Paradox because you haven't understood.
yeah,
Yeah.
because we're trying to philosophize, not know and see.
Okay. Any? This one go on.
Okay. Vedana. Then pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Even that is conditioned. So it's anicchang, anattang, dukkha. Sanya, there's sort of perception or discrimination, like separating things. So using, I don't know, memory, whatever. This is this, this is that. That too is conditioned. And to identify with that will also bring dukkha. Sankhara is the stories you create around it. That too is unconditioned. Conditioned. I was starting to think, when you like people or you don't like people, it's not that you actually like or don't like the person, it's that you don't like or don't like the stories that you made in your mind about that person. So that's sort of sankhara. So in this, you make this story about this person and you dislike this person and you identify with this dislike, that brings you suffering. Because that is a conditioned thing, a condition. And finally, vijnana, consciousness, the mere act of awareness, or not the act of awareness, the mere awareness or the knowing something. That too is impermanent, conditioned, and impersonal. Here, the Venerable Walter Rahul, I didn't read this properly, it's so good, I should have. Was talking about Sati, fisherman's son. It's Pokkara Sati, right? He just says Tanhangs Pokkasati. He was talking about Pokkasati, who made a mistake, I think, that is very relevant today, even in Buddhism. And I think it's the mistake that Adi Shankar made. It's like Hindu idea that is this consciousness that transmigrates, that it's like a spirit that goes from my body to another body when we die. This is an idea that is still so alive in Buddhism. It's pretty annoying, but it is how it is. Because these things is so hard to understand. It requires, I think, a lot of meditation and contemplation, mostly meditation. So he thought that consciousness is this permanent self that goes from body to body, and that is where the I is. But Buddha calls him an calls him an idiot. This is one of the few times he just gave up on a student and then just out of
ท่านขาพูด
compassion
อะไร
told the rest of them what was the truth, right? It was so funny. Sorry?
ท่านจี๊บท่านขานพูดอะไรอ่ะหนังสืออีกเล่มหนึ่งเหรอ
Mahatan Tanha
You
Sankhya.
can
เมื่อกี้แอบ
ask
ฟัง
Dammo.
ฮะท่านขาน you said about another book เหรอ another book
No,
No.
he's saying same book.
Same book.
อ๋อโอ้
Page 24.
Page 24. That's why I asked you to read.
It's a very good book. I regret not only spending 5 minutes on it. It's really good. You should read it. It's giving a lot of good suttas like for you to reference as well. So this one that the Venerable is mentioning is the Tanha Sankhya Sutta, where Lord Buddha talking to Sati, fisherman's son.
มหาตันหังเหรอ
Mm.
สูตรอะไรนะ
Mahatan
ท่านคา you said ฮะมหาอะไรนะเจ้าค่ะ
Mahatan Nakaya.
Mm. Sankhya.
No, Mahatan Sankhaya. Oh, okay.
what's the name of that สูตร
Mahatanha Sankhaya Sut. Majjhima Nikaya. Mulapanat.
Yeah.
อุ้ยเหมือนไม่เคยได้อ่านเลย ท่านจี๊บ can you
So, Lord
remember
Buddha
about this
said
สูตร
human consciousness is,
No.
is the conditioned nature of it.
อ๋อ
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone wants to ask? Tidamo?
ยากเลย
Thank you.
yeah
Thank you.
quite difficult
very difficult
quite-
to ask
Yeah. It's very difficult to talk.
Difficult
so
sub-
teacher please conclude
conclude. Okay, goodbye. Okay, so I will share the PowerPoint, okay? To summarize. Okay, so there are all the 12 different types of sufferings that we discussed, from jati to yampi changnalabhati tampi dukkhang, are suffering because we cling into the 5 aggregates. So this is the first one, and this again, 3 aspects of a suffering is explained in the Visuddhimagga. Okay? And the number 1 is dukkha. Now it's known as intrinsic suffering or ordinary suffering. Okay, and so it's 11 types of suffering. From birth to not getting what you want is suffering. So, and that's all ordinary suffering, and that's because we cling on to the 5 aggregates. Yeah, that's a panchupadana khanda. So if there is no if there is no 5 aggregates, then there will be no suffering. So, and here further, the body or the material aggregate, physical and a mental suffering dependent on the body arise. Yeah? Because there are feeling, perception, volitional activity and consciousness aggregates, physical and mental suffering based on them, they arise. Okay, so the dukkha basically is ordinary dukkha, that because we have it and we cling onto it. That's why it's called panchupadana khanda dukkha. We cling onto it.
So all these go back to the sankhara dukkha.
Okay, so this is the first dukkha. We are suffering because we have it. Yeah?
And because we don't want to have it.
Okay, so this is the first dukkha, is ordinary dukkha or the intrinsic dukkha. Now this is a viparinama dukkha here. suffering due to change. Because everything is conditioned arises. Yeah? So the cause of a dukkha not so obvious that occur as a result of the operation of the law of change. Yeah? So it's because of the change taking place. Doesn't matter we like it or not. We get after we're born, we get old. So that's why we feel suffer. Yeah? And then all this dukkha domana supaya sabi dukkha. And these are also because the change is there. It's happening. The change is taking place, whether you like it or not. And that's how you get this change, the suffering. And there's a pleasurable physical sensations arising from agreeable tactile impressions. Touch are called pleasant bodily feeling. Yeah? So this having a comfortable life, life, it won't last long. That's why I gave a simile. Why do we change our positions from sitting? And that's because we feel the change and we feel the needs of it. Because of that change, there is a suffering. So even the tiniest suffering, we simply change it. Okay, and there's a joyful state of the mind arising from reviewing pleasurable sense objects called pleasant mental feelings. And so this again talking about the six senses. Whatever we see, when we see beautiful, we have a pleasant sensations. When we hear beautiful songs, a beautiful voice, then we feel the joy and happy. Similarly, when we see something not nice, we feel unhappy. We hear somebody saying something nasty, we feel unhappy. We don't want to hear someone who we don't like to hear. Then that also brings unhappiness, suffering. But these are doesn't last long. It will change. Yeah? So that's why these two form of a happy states please all beings. So that's obviously we like to hear good things. We like to have a comfortable sofa, comfortable bed, nice food to eat, a nice thing to see, thinking of the beaches and listening the beautiful songs like that. Everybody likes it, but that state doesn't last long. It will change.
You look out your window and you realize you're in Scotland when you see the rain.
Now see, we have a beautiful sunshine here, and then in 1 hour or 2 hours later, we're going to have a snow.
Oh.
See, now I'll show you. See how beautiful.
I want
How
to see.
See, that's beautiful. Yeah,
It's very bright.
So
very
sunny.
bright sunshine.
It's so warm, but as soon as you walk outside, you freeze.
Yeah,
Because it's like 0 degrees.
and then in 2 hours later, you're going to have a snow, wind and snow. So it's always change.
Oh, now there is still snow.
So if Viparinama took off both of you.
Yeah,
And you will miss sunshine.
it looks like very sunshine. When you go out, very cold. You can't go and stand.
Is it dry?
Very
Is
dry.
it dry? Oh.
Windy, very windy. So how many miles per hour?
So when you all complaining about how hot it is, I get a little bit jealous.
Now
Do you know?
in
Do you know
Pisanolo,
both of us, Monit and I, Monit and I want to go to Scotland right here, right now.
yes.
Because
I want to travel.
we always want, yeah.
Cold.
I want to go to Scotland.
So it's like craving.
To meet both of
So
you.
that's also suffering, okay, because of the change. The happiness and unhappiness doesn't last long because that's subject to change. Yeah, and that's why here I mentioned here yada nichang tang dukkang, the last one. Whatever is impermanent is unsatisfactory. Okay? So this is a viparinama dukkha. So here further explanation is while they are rejoicing with blissful contentment, if the sense objects that have given them so much happiness and delight disappear or get destroyed, great would be their agitation, followed by agony. When the wealth which they have accumulated in the form of money or property suddenly get lost through one reason or another, when death or separation comes to their loved ones, intense grief and distress ensue, which can even cause derangement. So it's always change. This everything is subject to change, and because of that change, we will be suffering. Yeah?
This reminds me of this story. You ever heard of Crime and Punishment?
Yeah.
The book from Russia.
Mm.
It's talking about this very rich, noble family. They lost all their wealth, and they still live in this fantasy land where they're still nobles and they speak in French, but they live in total poverty.
No.
It's pretty funny, but they're suffering so much because they're living in this illusion about all the status and money and property and connections they've lost.
There are many people like that, even now.
Mm.
Someone who had a successful life in the past and somehow they broke and they're still attached to those memories and those status and comfortable lives, and they always try to behave in such a way that they were before. So there are people like this.
This reminds me of my family.
Oh, okay.
Like my family is like that because traditionally we come from the rich landowning class. But from my grandfather's time, we were very poor because very bad investments. And from my great grandfather onwards, so we lost all our wealth. And but most of our family live in this fantasy land where there's still, high class, noble, rich people. And this is bringing so much suffering, even now to our generation. This inability to accept reality. Okay. A lot of really weird psychology going on. So strange. You have to live in it to understand. So weird. It reminded me of the Russian family in Crime and Punishment.
Okay. Any examples? Anybody wants to give any examples for this?
For about sankhara dukkha เหรอ
No, viparinama dukkha. We're talking about viparinama dukkha.
อ๋อ วิปัสสนา
All three are very different. One you have, the second you experience. Okay.
Third is everything.
Third is everything. Okay, so this is. There are many people who are still living in that situation, thinking that they are still wealthy, happy, behaving in such a way.
All of Britain is like this. Because most British people still imagine we are part of a superpower empire and it's driving them crazy. So when they're confronted by reality, when they see former colonial subjects coming to Britain,
Is it real? Is it real that British people they think that they are some kind of a high class person, something like that?
I've seen it in some people.
Only some.
Yeah, I think that is a national consciousness, though, which is a bit so strange. You have to come here and stay for a while, Chip. You will sort of understand the strange
Some
ideas people have.
somebody will throw the can to me, same as พระอาจารย์มหาวิเชียร
Achan
พระอาจาร
Mahavishya
ย์
stayed here 3 months. So
he got the can of cola or something. Someone threw him
yeah.
the can.
Someone attacked him.
เหรอ เหรอ ท่าน
What?
จิ๊บ
Sure,
Hello?
yeah.
Yes.
He wrote a book as well. Have you read this book?
yes
Monit have read. If you say
Yes.
you haven't, then you will be lying.
but I forgot
Forgot.
Oh,
No, you didn't. You are just old.
I think that was a story Ajahn Chah was saying when he came to Britain as well. This was in the 70s when there were Nazis everywhere. He got punched and he said, "Oh, this is a really good chance for me to practice loving kindness."
He got punched. Oh,
Yeah, he got attacked
โอ้
by some people. I don't know if
หนักกว่ากระ
yeah,
ป๋องอย่างเงี้ย
เออโดนต่อยใช่ไหมใช่ป่ะ
Sorry.
โอ้ยตายแล้ว
ยังไม่ตาย
that's
ยังไม่ตาย
practice loving kindness.
In my book, I also wrote such stories as well.
Yeah,
อ่า
Hong and Satya. Those difficulties. There was a one monk. He in Liverpool. We were going in Liverpool, and then 2 kids came and hit his head and saying, "Oh, you have a very bald head," and they hit his head and run away. After that, this monk never dared to go alone.
Oh, but it was just a joke. Oh, I thought it was a proper attack. Did they hurt him?
Yeah. So, and he never wanted to go alone anywhere
Very sad.
like that. And then there was we were just about to take a picture, and this car passed by and thrown the can of a beer. And I took a picture of this car and reported to the police. And in the evening, they were caught and then punished like a social, antisocial behavior.
That could have been hate crime as well.
Yeah.
so I never shave my hair
Oh, that's a good excuse.
You're in Thailand.
You're still attached to your hairs. Okay, so next, the last one, the sankhara dukkha. Yeah, so this is viparinama dukkha. All the happiness or comfortable, when it changes, we suffer. That's why it is the suffering. And this is a sankhara dukkha, suffering due to conditioning. Yeah? And here, basically, all the 5 aggregate itself conditioned arises. When things conditioned arises, sabbe dhamma anatta. Yeah? Dhamma here is all the sankhara. Okay, so all the sankharas, all the conditioned things are dukkha because that conditioning. When 2 things comes together to make something, when one thing is collapsed, then brings the ending of it. Okay? So that's why it is dukkha.
Well, all Chaitanya as well is like
Chetana, no, chetana is your mental action. Yeah? It is about the objects. It's talking about any objects or any feelings that is conditioned. Doesn't matter what it is, everything is conditioned there. Yeah? And because of the condition, then always change. and there is nothing that is unconditioned. Is there anything that is unconditioned?
I'm
Yeah?
thinking about the song Wind of Change.
Sorry.
Sure.
Wind of Change.
Mean of
Can
change.
you can you remember this song?
What's the name?
Wind, wind,
Wind.
wind of
Wind
change.
of Change.
อ่า
Win เหรอ Win
ใช่ลมอ่ะ
สายลมใช่ไหม Win
I don't know. I don't know.
Wind
So
of
here,
change.
let me read. Okay, let me read it out. Monit, can you read out?
ฮะ อ๋อโอเค เดี๋ยว สังขาราทุกขา suffering due to conditioning. The word สังขารา in สัพเพสังขาราทุกขา all conditioned things are suffering. Here means conditioned things or resultants of determining conditions. It has a different meaning from the sankhara in sankhara khanta ใช่ไหม khanta sankhara khanta which means volitional activities. The five aggregates of thinking are always in a state of flux, impermanent, and none of them are self-existing. They arise out of various causes. They are conditioned. Their existence depends on certain conditions, and when these conditions and causes cease to exist, they too cease to exist. As death was constantly having to rely on the impermanent aggregates of thinking or physical substance of collapsing any moment, suffering due to formation, inherent liability to suffering.
Okay, so here, these five aggregates always in a flux. So this anicca, dukkha, anatta here. Okay, so anicca always flux. Anicca, impermanent. Yeah, there's a impermanent, and then there's a the aniccata, and then a non-self. Okay, so there's three coming here: anicca, dukkha, anatta, and they arise out of various causes. See, various causes, many cause. That's why they are conditioned. Het pattai, yeah, it's conditioned. So because of that conditioned arose, when one condition falls, then it brings to the end, and it brings suffering. Yeah, and here this says suffering due to formation, inherent liability to suffering. Right? Because it formed, because it created, and this is a suffering, like anger, jealousy, such as it is you formed it from the conditioning of something else. That's why anger and jealousy will not last with us all the time, throughout the year, until the death. It changes as your condition change. You're angry with some person, you just walk away from that room and talk to some person who you like, the anger is just gone. Jealousy as well. Again, you're jealous about this person and you find someone, then again it's gone.
Or the person you're jealous of praises you.
So that's why it's a sankhara dukkha is basically everything is conditioned, arose, and that's why it is subject to change. When this subject to change takes place, then we are unhappy. And here further on, it's like the body needs constant feeding in order to survive. So that's why we suffer. If you don't feed, we feel pain, we feel hungry. And the feeling also always contact with agreeable sense objects.
Including pleasant thoughts.
Yeah. So, and in a summary, this is the whole, all the concept of a dukkha in Buddhism. Summary is the 5 aggregates of a clinging are intrinsic suffering, suffering due to the change, and suffering due to conditioning. In short, the 5 aggregates of a clinging are noble suffering, noble truth of suffering. Okay, so this is the dukkha in Buddhism.
This is ปัญจุปาทา
Panchupatthana dukkha.
ทุกขา
Number 1, it's intrinsic. It is ordinary suffering because we have it. And the suffering due to change. We can't hold it. We have no control over it. And the third, that itself is conditioned. That's why we suffer. Man, that itself is changing. That's why we suffer. And all is talking about the change. And if you cling onto that changing nature, then you suffer. That's why first, sabbe sankhara anicca. So this all sankhara, or everything that conditioned arised is anicca, impermanent, changing. And then sabbe sankhara dukkha. Because of these conditioned arose, it is suffering. And then the last one is sabbe dhamma anatta. All conditioned things, dhammas, are non-self. And that is the attainment of a real ultimate happiness we call Nibbana. Okay? Right. Okay. Anything else? Anyone has anything to share?
Money disappeared.
Okay. So next week we are on holiday for whole week. We will come back after. I will see on Monday the 19th. Okay.
Monday 19.
อ๋อ
Yeah.
Oh,
หยุดสงกรานต์หยุดสงกรานต์เหรอที่เชื่อ
Yes.
I will move to Namjon on that day. ครับ
For how
You
long?
may. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe this whole year.
Okay.
But yeah, I will continue learning. But you may see new background.
Okay. Okay. Good. Yeah. Okay. So we'll see you on Monday. Okay.
Monday,
And I won't see you during this one whole week. So Tanchita Dhammo is taking a silent retreat, and
sadhu.
he's giving more responsibility to